Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm Marty. Hope you're doing great. Today I want to show you a little bit of mastering, especially mastering in Logic with stock plugins. I want to show you how you can enhance your mixes. This is a very basic mastering session. Don't take it as a full-fledged mastering session. I only use the stock Logic plugins, and I just wanted you to show you a way how to master your mixes for maybe demos, and how to basically start mastering with linear EQs, exciters, and so forth. So hope you can learn something from it and have fun.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved.
Okay, so on the output channel here, I've got two plugins. First and the second one are basically the same, which is the multimeter. The first is in the analyzer setting, and the second one is in the goniometer setting. And the first one is basically just where you can see the frequencies from 0 to 20 kHz. Both have the correlation for phase and also a peak and RMS level meter. And the second one here has this certain metering for left, right, and middle, where you can basically see how the frequencies response in the stereo image. So let's just jump right in here on the master channel where our track is. So let's listen just for a second to the track itself, how it sounds unmastered.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved by the world. Holy crap, I have to make ends meet, and if you told me how, I'd swallow that recipe.
So it sounds basically just fine. There are no major problems here. So the phase here in the correlation seems good. I think we might have enough bass and high frequencies, but we might enhance that a little further. So the first plugin here has basically nothing to do with the mastering itself. It's just a gain plugin because it was a little bit low in level, so I just added here probably about 5 dB. But again, this is nothing to do with the mastering chain itself. I just added it to get to rise the level itself a bit. So the first thing that comes now here is a EQ, and it's a special EQ. It's a linear phase EQ, the stock Logic EQ. And the cool thing about linear phase EQs is that they don't mess up the phase in the frequency bands itself. So they are linear, and they also don't add any color to the signal itself. So really like that. I often use it for mastering. And so let's jump right in what I did here. First frequency band I added here is a low cut, which is around 25 Hz here, and I just make a low cut on that low frequency because the compressor will react to it. It will compress it even though you won't hear it. So I just added this low cut here to help the compressor ignore those low frequencies. And then we go a little bit higher here, and at 80 Hz I think there is plenty of bass in the track itself, maybe a little bit too much, and I found out that the bass is around 80 Hz, or the main frequency of the bass, and so I decreased it just a tiny amount, 1.5. Okay, and then I did nothing on those frequencies here, which is around 301K, but at 2K I wanted to enhance or make the claps that are in the chorus a little bit, if I could say that, pop. I found out that the frequency is around 2 kilohertz here, so I added 2 dB, and so let's just listen to that now without this shelf EQ and this sibilance.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved by the world.
And without.
Holy crap, I have to make ends meet, and if you told me how, I'd swallow that recipe. I'd swallow that recipe.
And with.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become
Can
all
go maybe a little bit higher here.
and to be loved by the world. Holy
So the
crap,
claps
I
are
have to make
heard a little better,
ends meet.
I think. Okay, and what I did also here, I added a little bit of air, which starts here around 10,000 hertz with plus 4 dB, and then I added a dip here at around 7,000 hertz with negative 2.5 dB, just to get rid of the S's and decibels a little bit. No major problem here, but just for the sake of it. So let's listen again with all the EQ settings.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved by the world.
And without.
Holy crap, I have to make ends meet, and if you told me how, I'd swallow that recipe.
With.
I'd swallow that recipe. Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all.
So a little bit open sounding with less bass, a little more high end, and the claps are heard a little bit better. So that's the EQ. And the second plugin is the exciter here, the stock Logic exciter. Let's have a listen to the exciter itself. The setting is here at 10 kilohertz with 30% of the harmonics. And the first color, let's take the second color, a little bit darker sounding. And now let's engage it to the track.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved by the world.
And without.
Holy crap, I have to make ends meet, and if you told
With.
me how, I'd swallow that recipe.
So it kind of makes everything a little bit more exciting, makes really the high frequencies pop, and that's exactly what we want with that. So you probably could go a little bit higher or further down with the frequencies, but I think 10 kilohertz is a pretty good starting point here. Okay, the next plugin is a stereo spread, and just to be clear with that here is with all those stereo imaging plugins, you have to be really careful not to mess up your phase. You can really overdo it, and I usually start with the high frequencies, which is here around 9.4 kilohertz. 10 kilohertz is a good starting point, and you really shouldn't overdo it. So new settings like that, I usually stick with 40% in the upper frequencies, and that's about it. And with the highest amount of aura here. So let's have a listen to that with.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want.
without.
Holy crap, I have to make ends meet. And if you told me how,
And
swallow
with.
that recipe. Swallow that recipe.
So the phase, as you can see here, is pretty good. You want to stay in the blue here.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin.
Okay, very subtle. You won't hear it that much, but it adds up in the end if you listen to all the different plugins with and without. And the next thing are two compressors. The first one is the Logic compressor with a preset. And as Logic itself doesn't have any tape emulation, but they have a compressor that kind of simulates the compression of analog tape. And I found out, if you play around with the settings, especially with the distortion setting, you can get a little more color to the whole track. And so I set it here to the soft distortion. And let's have a listen first without and then with the analog tape preset.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved by the world.
And with.
Holy crap, I have to make ends meet. And if
So as you can see, very tiny amount of compression.
swallow that recipe.
Without.
Swallow that recipe. Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved by the world.
Okay, it really adds a little bit of gain, a little bit of compression, and also with distortion a little bit of color to it. So I really like that. And now the second compressor is here, the Multipressor, which is a multi-band compressor. You can set up different bands. I have, for example, here 4 bands. You don't really need 4 bands. You can use 2 bands or 1 band. You probably can get away with that. And let's have a listen just to the, for example, to the lower frequency band here, which you can solo. I have a tiny amount of compression. Let's bypass it. And with. With a ratio of 2.2. All the expanders here are disengaged. Don't need them, just need the compression. And let's have a listen now to the, let's take the middle band here.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become
And without.
all I want and to be loved by the world. Holy
And
crap,
with.
I have to make ends.
So now the same with the high frequency band.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin
With,
to become
without.
all I want and to be loved by the world.
And with. So it slightly compresses all those 4 bands. Probably the lowest is the second band here, which is that. Let's have a listen to that. Without. Probably there is, I didn't add any compression or really much compression here because I found it quite okay, and I don't really want that this band sticks out too much, so I concentrated here on the higher and the very low frequency. So now let's listen to the track without this multipress and then engage it.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved by the world.
And with.
Holy crap, I have to make ends meet, and if you told me how, I'd swallow that recipe.
And without.
I'd swallow that recipe. Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want.
So it makes all the frequencies, especially high frequencies, really pop here. I really like that sound, but again, you should be aware that you don't overcompress anything. So you might probably get away with just 2 bands here, so you don't split it up in 4 bands like I did. You pretty much can do the same thing with 2 bands, where you just have a low frequency or a lower frequency range here and a high frequency band. Okay, the last plugin is a limiter, which in Logic's case is here the adaptive limiter. What you can do with that is you can raise the level of the whole track without exceeding a certain ceiling. So when you set the ceiling at 0 dB, it will clip, it will sound distorted, so you want to back down a little bit, just a little bit, probably negative 0.2, I always take that, and let's take down the gain and start at 0 and then slowly bring the gain up and listen to it, how loud you will go, and of course don't limit too much, as it will sound very squashed and distorted and you won't get into the whole loudness war thing. So let's start limiting.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want.
Always have the RMS level here, which is the lower one.
Holy crap, I have to make ends meet, and if you told me how,
Negative 11 or negative 12 is a good RMS level,
swallow that recipe.
something that I usually
Holy
have an eye on.
I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved by the world. Holy crap, I have to make ends meet.
At that point it really gets squashed. There is nearly no dynamic range in it when you look at the meters, and also you hear distortion, so that's really too much. So let's back it down again to that.
Holy crap, I've got to be this thin to become all I want and to be loved by the world. Holy crap, I have to make ends meet, and if you...
So that seems a pretty good level. We were around negative 11 with the RMS, or negative 12. We had a good bouncing meters, and of course when you listen to it, it doesn't sound squashed, and you don't hear any distortion. Okay, so with the whole limiting at the end, you have to be really careful not to master too loud. Of course, don't get into the whole loudness war madness that you have to compete with other loud mixers. Just listen to the track, listen for distortion, listen for squashed mix or squashed mastering. Don't take it too far with all the other stereo imaging effects like stereo widens, or that I showed, stereo spreads. And of course, trust your ears more than metering. You should keep an eye on the RMS. Really shouldn't get above negative 10 dB full scale, which is pretty loud. And always watch for clipping, and listen to reference tracks. you probably could see my reference tracks in the video, and I always listen to for EQ and also for limiting in the end, how loud the mixes are, how bright they sound. Really depends on the genre, of course. And so thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and have a lot of other mixing videos. Have a look at them, and see you next time.